how visibility creates demand before the inquiry. So ultimately, the whole idea from a power content perspective is you're building trust through consistent brand presence in your local market. Okay. So imagine this for a moment and just ask yourself, if someone saw your brand 3 times this week, would they recognize you or would they scroll past? Now imagine if they saw your brand 30 times this week, 100 times this week, 1,000 times this week. Like, what would actually happen to your brand? What would happen to your business, to your inquiries after all of that process? So, and this is really the whole premise of power content because I see all the time, a lot of us are just focusing on organic content, right? And unfortunately, in the day that we live in right now, the algorithms and the platforms like Meta, for example, don't really push our organic content that great unless we have got some true virality. And most of the time there, the virality in my experience is more of a fluke than a planned actual process, right? So when we bring in the paid media side of things and specifically power content, the whole idea here is to increase that reach, increase that visibility of your brand into that marketplace. And this is why this question is so important. And you've really got to be honest with yourself around if someone saw your brand 3 times a week, would they recognize you or would they simply scroll past, right? And then amplifying it with that message and that power content. And now all of a sudden they're seeing it 50 times, 100 times, 1,000 times a week. What's going to happen? Okay. What it might not be the big change today or tomorrow, but it's 3 months, 6 months, 2 years from now. What's it going to happen? And what I want you really to think about here, this is the likes of McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Red Bull, all of these big, huge brands, Geico Insurance over in the US, all of these big brands, Top Dog Law, like they're really just focusing on pumping out that brand. And we, as small business owners, coaches, consultants, service business owners, we actually have the power to be able to leverage all of these things ourselves, right? At the fingertips at a lower cost than what could be imaginable from there. So that's what I want you to think about. So it's the recognition problem is ultimately what we are trying to solve here, because this is why demand feels how harder without authority, right? And if your market doesn't recognize you before they inquire, well, then every lead feels colder. It feels harder to convert. Our conversion rates drop down. People are less likely to engage with you on the call. So without visibility, every inquiry ultimately starts with that zero trust. Imagine that someone opts in for a challenge, they come through an ebook funnel, they book on a sales call, and they've never even heard of you before. There's no real trust in that relationship. So you find yourself that you're explaining who you are, why you matter, and why they should actually listen and care, all before you can actually even address their leads. Referrals and ads work better when they already know you, right? This is the thing. So a lot of us as small business owners, we get a lot of referrals. But imagine that if you're getting referrals from maybe it's your intimate network, your extended network, like what that looks like, you've got some form of trust there. But if those referrals are also seeing you online, that trust factor improves. And then what happens is warm leads convert faster because the groundwork of familiarity is already been done. It's the exposure's there. They know who you are. And authority reduces friction before the conversation even starts, right? This is similar to like if you're running like a book funnel, maybe you're an author and you've provided that business card of credibility in your book. You've given them value. As long as they've read it, you've just gone up the ladder of authority in their mind. And this is what we can do with that power content because when prospects recognize your personal brand, corporate brand, they arrive with pre-existing trust over skepticism, right? So what I want you to understand here in that recognition problem is that power content isn't about posting more, right? It's about being familiar when people are ready. Okay. So this is why we say here we want to be able to turn it on, allocate a budget, turn it on and run it continually 24/7 a day, 365, never turn it off because this is about the compound interest of your brand for years to come, right? That's what we're looking for here. So let's redefining your content. Okay. So what power content actually is and isn't. right? So ultimately, power content and what we're talking about here is a low cost, always on brand visibility that, that build trust over time. And it's not designed to just spike leads, right? I call it the consultancy curse where, we get 20 leads this week and then we get nothing for 3 weeks and then we get another two this week. This is not about leads. This is about visibility. Leads are a byproduct of this visibility over time. So video ads are an amazing way for you to create that brand equity and to utilize in your power content. So video ads or positioning images, and these might be quite hook related positioning images that have got like a good story angle behind them, but I'd recommend the video ads to really drive that consistency with your local market. These don't need to be flashy campaigns demanding action. They're quiet, they're persistent reminders that you exist to solve your clients' problems and that you are credible, right? You're not asking for anything, you're just showing up regularly, right? This is the thing. It's just like knocking on the door, knocking on the door, knocking on the door. Hey, I'm here, I'm still here. Here's something if you've been thinking about this problem around here, whatever it is. These are the things that are going to really help you drive that credibility over time. Because remember, the goal here with power content isn't link clicks or conversions right now. It's recognition and familiarity that compounds over weeks and months, right? This we're playing the long game here. And it's designed to support that demand, not replace lead generation, right? So this is in tandem with what you're looking to do. But power content works alongside all of your other types of campaigns that you might run, all of your other types of marketing efforts. If you're doing email campaigns, if you think of this cross channel marketing, this really starts to feed into what you're looking to achieve. And ultimately, you're warming up your leads first. That's what we're doing. So, to clarify the misconception, power content isn't content marketing, right? Or social posting, right? It's paid visibility that quietly compounds over time. Right. So imagine this for a moment. If you are creating, video content every day, every week, every month, whatever that looks like specifically for you, you'll notice over time that there's just certain videos that have more engagement, more trust, more punchy um, with your audience, right? These are those videos that you then want to allocate into your power content campaign. So I know that many of you in challenges or things like that, for example, you might do Facebook Lives every day. Right? Not every single Facebook Live is going to be, a home run. Not the entire content of your Facebook Live is going to be the home run, but maybe there's a small sliver of segment there. Maybe there's like 30 seconds, 3 minutes, 10 minutes of that segment that you might have ran that is solid. That's the information that we want to extract, turn into a power content video and drive some copy around that. So, how does this work? Like from a systems integration perspective, like how power content connects through to your growth engine, right? So, what does that look like, your growth engine and all of that? So, how does it feed the growth of your business? So, power content feeds the entire growth engine once again by warming up demand before people hit your CRM. So, we talk about it at Chat to Clients around like it helps build that local authority system and recognition first. So, your market knows who you are before they need you. It's creating a foundation of trust that makes every touch point easier. It helps with the demand generation. So demand generation ultimately works better because people already trust you, like ads, referrals, and your outreach, emails, knocking on doors, whatever, phone calls, whatever that looks like for you. You will typically see over time a higher conversion rate when prospects actually come through your brand, which means that you will start to potentially reduce time to client, reduce conversion rate churn, increase long-term client value, and get a better ROI or a better return on ad spend over time by leveraging this type of power content. And ultimately, like what we talk about client flow and that communication, it feels easier because conversations start warmer. That's ultimately what we're looking to do there. So follow-up becomes simpler, objections are softer, and sales cycles often shorten when familiarity with those individuals, with your prospective clients, has been established. So with power power content, we recommend you can start this from as little as like $5 a day. Work out what your budget is. You might decide to go $10 a day. You might go 15, $20 a day, depending on how big your market is and what your budget is. But what I'm telling you is you can start this with as little as $5 a day. And it isn't about scaling, it's about removing resistance everywhere else, right, in the engine. So it's a low cost investment. It's a low cost way for you to start buying eyeballs and buying reach and creating that familiarity within your market. That's what we're looking for there. Most important message here, start, right? So power content means that you're not explaining who you are on every single call, right? The market already knows. And this is ultimately the aim that we are looking for from the power content. We want to make sure that those calls that you're having, those sales conversations to move people through your sales process are warmer. There's less friction, meaning that we get to convert more of the right type of people into your programs so that you, A, make more money, and most importantly, you're so much more profitable from that perspective. This is the breeding the confidence of, I know if I invest in myself and invest in my brand consistently, couple that with our lead generation strategies and our systems that help us grow our business over the time, that we're actually going to mathematically be able to work out and understand how to become more profitable quicker because we have a proven system that works in your business. So I wanted to leave it there for you today on the power content side of things. As always, if you've got any questions whatsoever, just reach out. That's what I'm here for. We're here to help, and we look forward to really helping you in the future. Cheers.